All right, everyone. I'm excited. We've got, a Canadian celebrity now, I guess is what we have to pronounce you as. But I've got Jagger here with me from Young Farts RV Parts, fresh off their Dragon's Den premiere, I guess. And thanks for reaching out, for one. Thanks for reaching out to the podcast. And it's awesome that we're sitting here chatting, man.
Right on, man. I'm really excited to be on here.
Yeah, so I guess where we'll want to start is, you and your brother, quite the story. They didn't touch on it too much on Dragon's Den, but, you mentioned right out of the gates, caught my eye, was barely made it through high school. Your brother didn't. And here you guys are turning $1.8 million this past year before you even touched Dragon's Den. Give us a little bit of background on you two. How'd you get into RV parts? Give us the reality from Alberta.
So how it started, man, in high school, I bought my first 1979 Chevette, and I got a really good deal. It was a barn find, and I went and sold it for $2,500. I'm like, holy smokes, man, I could make pretty good money flipping cars. So in high school, I was doing about a car every week, every 2 weeks, and then the year after high school, I sold about 150 cars. But now that was pretty illegal at the time because I wasn't a dealership. I was just a curber, right? So I'm like, hey,
right.
I got to find a building, or I got to find something so I could be a licensed dealer. So I ended up looking, I grew up in Sherwood Park, which is close to Edmonton. And, yeah, and everything's really expensive there. So I'm like, hey, there's no chance of that happening. So I was looking around trying to find places that were affordable, and I found this little town of Mundare, and I bought my first building. It was like 3,000 square feet for $70,000. So it was cheap. I ended up a licensed dealer. And then my brother got out of high school. We both started flipping cars together. And then we started getting into flipping RVs just as a whole. And this one time, you know what? We bought an RV sight unseen, and we're like, we were trying to sell this thing, and it was so beat up, and there was no way we were going to end up selling it. So we're like,
right.
What the hell do we do? So we're like, you know what? Let's try selling the parts out of this thing. Just like a freaking auto wrecker, we thought, right?
Right.
So we end up selling the parts, and it turns out there was more money in the parts than what we actually wanted to if we thought this trailer was good to sell. So we're like, holy shit. So I had the building, and winter of 2018, I bought 40 RVs. We stripped them down, and we bought about $30,000 worth of new parts. We made a little website. We put a motorhome on the side of the road that said new and used RV parts, and all of a sudden it just took off. And you know what? At the time, we didn't realize that it was such a rare market. Nobody's selling used RV parts, right? So
yeah, that's one of the weird things. I'm a camper. I'm a huge camper. That's what we do, my wife and I. And I mean, everything comes out of Illinois or Indianapolis or whatever for all these Keystones and the premieres. There's nothing local. Yeah. And I've had one RV that just caused us absolute nightmare. And again, there was no one local for parts. So I mean, it's amazing that, and again, for those listeners that haven't watched the episode, they should, because in that short, I think you guys were one of the long episodes, segments where I think you got about 10 minutes focused on you guys.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys covered a lot of the hurdles that here's two young guys who stumbled into this and have a mega market, and you're cornering it. I Googled your stuff. The website's getting traffic. You're on Amazon, and you're number one in all the Google searches. And that was before the episode aired, because you and I touched base before it aired. And I was doing my research, and that's crazy. So this is going to just pour gasoline on what you guys are doing.
100%. And the thing about that Amazon is, I'm going to tell you,
yeah.
We are not on Amazon, but for some reason, I think our keyword's doing so well that they decided to run an ad with our name on it. I don't think that's right of Amazon, but hey.
Yeah, because it was one of the first things that came up, and it went right to, so you guys are not supplying them with parts.
No, I tried reporting them. I tried reporting them to Google. They can't be using our name if we aren't supplying any parts to them. You know what I mean? And you know what? That was another decision we had to make, because you know what, a lot of people are deciding to sell their parts on Amazon because they think it's a bigger market. And I'm sitting here going, you know what, I think that's really good in the short term. I think that's a really good move short term to go on Amazon, but you're losing that Amazon percent fee. So we've decided,
which I assume is pretty high.
I think it's around 15%, right?
So as much as our government. Well, sorry, my government, not your
government, man. Your government. Yeah,
we got back from a trip. We went out to Edmonton. We drove from we're near Ottawa, so we drove from Ottawa all the way out to Edmonton. Just hopping the whole way. We landed in Edmonton. The wife wanted to see the West Ed Mall.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. That was the goal. But I was amazed that, the cost of living out there is pretty high, but yet as an Ontario person, I mean, your taxes are so like things are actually cheaper.
Yes, we're very fortunate for that. I think it's only like us in Saskatchewan that got that 5%.
Yeah.
And the territories.
I got out there and they were calling me a redneck for being Ontario, and I'm like, I don't know. I think Alberta's kind of the one. I mean, you guys are like the Florida of Canada here with the COVID thing. You guys are winning the race. So I mean, one big question for me from it all too was, is it you or Dawson that came up with this amazing name?
My brother did. Dawson did.
Dawson did? I mean, I'm watching the videos. I've been all over the Facebook, and you guys are nuts, which I love. And you're having a good old time, driving RVs through other RVs. And even the show, you cut an RV's face off, and dropped it. But I said to my wife, I was like, I have to ask, will you take the credit, or is it your brother that came up with what I think is the greatest name?
So he woke up one morning, he said at like 3 a.m. He thought of it and put it in his phone. Because at the time it was called Jagger's Old School Auto and RV.
Right.
Because before he ended up joining in with us. So I'm like, we got to change the name because my name can't be at the top of it, right?
Yeah.
So he just woke up one morning. He came to me. I'm like, I don't know, man. And then we sat on it for 2 weeks. We're like, okay, well, we got to pick a name. So we ended up going, okay, I think we're going with this Young Farts RV Parts. And what we didn't realize too, it worked really well because most of our clientele is older, like over 45 plus, right? And most people coming in all refer to themselves as old farts. So that everybody's just having just a hoot call. Every person we talk to on the phone is like, oh, I'm an old fart. I'm an old. So it somehow worked really good.
I think it's awesome. I like creative and even marketing. Like it just rolls.
You won't forget it.
Hats off. Yeah,
Thanks,
Dawson did good there. That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, diving into, a little bit of what you sell. So I mean, new and used RV parts, right? Yeah. But do you find that the majority of the traffic, and talking before, like we're talking business before Dragon's Den, I mean, one of the things you said on the episode was, you buy a used trailer for about $1,000, and the fridge alone's $1,400, and you're in the gravy from there. Every single piece of it. Do you find that's the niche that you're going to kind of go after and keep tracking with?
100%. And you know what? Like, so when we were talking numbers on the den there, at the time we were only new. So we were because new is really easy to get going on the website.
Right.
And surprisingly, like new did really well. And after this winter, we're going to actually have all our used on there too. And I think it's going to be a much, much higher jump once we actually get all the used on there, because you know what? And like she was saying with Google, I even said it on there. You just didn't get to see it as much. But a lot of these part numbers that we're getting from these trailers just are non-existent. Yeah. They're non-existent. So like even these, just your interior lights, okay? These interior lights, they've got part numbers on them. Nobody makes them anymore. And a lot of people are really anal about them. So when we post them with the part number, anybody who goes and takes their light off, they pop the lenses and they say, oh, here's a part number. And they Google it. We're the only ones that show up, period. So like, when I said on there, so when I said on there, 50% of this trailer works for any trailer. Well, now there's the other 50% that's just when you Google it, we're the only ones that pop up, and it's just been driving our SEOs really crazy up, right?
And it kind of goes back to what you started in, like old cars, right? Because they don't make those parts anymore. They don't even have the molds for those parts. And the older trailers in Ontario anyway, especially where I am, I'm finding a lot of people are getting into the vintage like boilers and stuff.
That's and blown especially up in like the past 3 years, it seems like.
Exactly. But there are no parts for that. So if you guys are getting them and stripping them, I mean, you're going to be the only dogs in town.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the only dogs in Canada.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It's a little rare in the States too. It's just shocking to me. Like I went through, they've got a lot of used RV parts stores in the States, but it seems like nobody's got anything online. I think I found one that kind of had some shit online. So I think this is where it's really going to take off for us.
So do you see yourself going south then after you conquer Canada?
This whole winter usually. So our winters are basically make no money, right?
Right.
This once we've been starting to get all our used online, like we had a small amount at the beginning of winter. We're up I think 600% online over last winter just by selling everything down to the States. Like everything we've been selling right now is down to the States. So I got to make a new website that's curated to USA pretty soon here, but that's going to be another move.
So that's pretty cool. So let's get into a little bit because, one of the things is, you're on Dragon's Den. We've all grown up watching this thing. Was this your first attempt to get on the show when you applied this round?
So what we did, I think it was our first year. It must have been 2018. And I said, Dawson, like, we're two young brothers. Like, our story might be good for Dragon's Den. So we sat in our garage and we're making poster boards and everything. And this is back when they did like live editions.
Right.
So the live edition came up and it's all the way in Edmonton. We didn't end up going. I don't know why. And it was a good thing we didn't. And then COVID happened and they started saying, Kate, send in your like a video and as your application, right? So I made a little video. I sent it in. Never heard nothing that year. So then I sent that same video in this year. And then they end up giving us a call. They're like, hey, you've got a second edition, basically. So then that's when we have a Zoom call with them, and they basically pretend to be dragons, and they're the producers.
Right.
And you just kind of give them your skit, and then they end up letting you know if you made it. And a month and a half later, they told us we did.
It's amazing they didn't just watch your Facebook page and see, you two are made for TV.
I think the producers looked into it after. I think they might have said this
because even me, like I say, doing some research before the episode and sitting down and talking with you guys. I'm going back, and my wife and I's face hurt the fun you guys are having, and I think that's key. Like, I'm a family business too. My son works for me. My wife works for me. It's so key, and for you and Dawson to be able to still have fun and kind of break 100%. That mold. Like, you're not all in. Like, none of us are in suits. None of us are trying to be this fake pish posh, salesman, used car salesman per se. You guys are just doing something that pays the bills and have fun.
And man, I think that's one of the reasons we've gotten so far in this business. Like, regardless of the only having used, like, our news really good. You know what? We're just regular guys, man. And you know what? Most people are trying to be that suit and tie, trying to sell you on shit all the time. And I think it worked. Maybe it was a really good model back in the day, but I think people are so tired of that shit. They just want to see some real people. You know what I mean?
Oh, I fully agree, because I think it is breaking that mold. And I mean, again, you guys are both under 25. I mean, that's crazy that you're now. I firmly believe, after watching the episode, what I've researched and everything else, you guys are set to be rock stars of the RV world. Like, it's insane. And especially, like, we'll get into it more, but I mean, I think last season, Michelle, that was when she did RVZ deal. Maybe that wet the whistle for you guys coming in this season, because it was made in heaven.
100%. And you know what? Before going into the den, we were sitting there going, you know what? Michelle makes a lot of sense because of that RV Easy, right? So yeah, that's for sure.
So that's who you were targeting when you went. Like, I know everyone says it and you guys didn't, but I mean, you guys record what, for about an hour for your episode?
Yeah, we were in there for about an hour. It felt like 20 minutes, and it said I said to them after, I'm like, how long were we in there for? And they're like, yeah, it was an hour. We're like, oh my goodness. It's
crazy. So they're really selective with what they show.
Oh, they missed so much. Like, and honestly, a lot of the parts I thought would be in weren't, but you know what? They put it together in a really, like, it made us look probably more professional than
that's the blooper reel will come out like in a special episode.
I wish, man, that'd be cool.
Yeah, or when they do an update. Like, I'm one of those fans of both Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, and when they do the updates, it's always cool to see, did due diligence go through? Did the deal go through? What's the bloopers? What's the extras? Because I knew you guys were in there for like an hour. So I mean, you two probably have never done anything like this before.
No.
And you went, was it recorded in Toronto?
Yeah.
So you guys came into Toronto, you guys recorded live. I mean, you had to be shitting bricks.
You know what? I've never been nervous like I was I was so nervous. Like my legs were shaking. It was all tunnel vision. Like we were really lucky because of the trailer. We had to come like 3 days before we actually went on. So we were studying and just practicing every day. We're Zoom calling family and trying to like act as if we're gonna be doing it. And once we actually went on the show, man, like tunnel vision was going on. They were saying stuff. I didn't even hear them. And I was just spewing basically muscle memory from what we'd been practicing. It was insane. What an experience.
That's the night before where you don't want to party, right? Like you.
Yeah. And Ontario was so locked down, we probably would have been.
Yeah.
We couldn't even go anywhere.
Yeah, they just locked us down again. It started today. They just locked us back down to what is it? We're allowed 5 or 10 people indoors, 25 outdoors, and all retail, personal care, 50% capacity.
People too.
Yeah, well, shit, man. Vaccinated people are the ones catching it down here.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, it's insane. We're at, what are we getting? Daily cases are around 1,500 and 750 to 800 are vaccinated individuals. Like, it's... Yeah. Like, is it, you guys are out of all the restrictions in Alberta right now?
We're wearing masks and stuff right now. Like, our premier kind of got in hot water because... When we went,
you have an awesome premiere. I'm gonna say it. You guys have an awesome.
I really like him, but when we went to Ontario at the time, we were wide open, so like we weren't even wearing masks or nothing, right? And so we show up there and like your Walmarts had caution tape over 80% of the store, and we couldn't believe, like we didn't even know that this was happening in Canada, to be honest with you. So,
I'll have to send you a picture because now our Walmarts have like cattle rails when you walk in. Like we all feel like cattle. Like it's insane. Like
they've got me a picture.
They've got gate counters in and out. Like they can lock you in and out now. And I'm
depending
like,
how many people are in the store.
It's insane. And I'm like, why are they investing all this money into this? And then boom. This morning at midnight, it all changed to this restriction. But so you had to record. That was roughly what, the end of August, early September,
beginning of
June. Okay,
yeah, and you know,
because we came to Edmonton at just before. I think Saskatchewan got on fire first, and then Alberta. But we were in West Ed, and there was no masks.
Yeah.
As we drove out, I was taking pictures at every border with like Manitoba, half a mask, and then I got into Saskatchewan, no mask, and then Alberta, I threw a whole bunch of masks in the air, and I was posting them to my social media because it was so nice. We got out there, and there's like
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, there was like 100,000 people, no masks in the West Ed Mall, and my wife and I are like, is this safe? And we're like, who cares? We can live again. You know, that's why we went out there, to get out of Dodge.
Yeah, fair enough.
So with the show then, so the application process, we kind of touched on that and what it was like. Now, recording with the Dragons, are you pretty much, do you get any like rehearsal, or are you just thrown out there in front of them?
No, you go, man, and it's one shot, one take, and that's it.
Wow. So you're standing behind the doors. They open those big double doors, and you guys walk out, and that's the first time you're seeing the stage. The Dragons are sitting up on their podiums.
We were fortunate. Most people don't.
You got to set up beforehand.
So we were really fortunate because of ours, and usually you don't get to set up either. Like they just say, Kate, you're going in, and they even said we were just going to go in, but we're like, okay. Because we made the trailer fall down like that. And we're like...
Yeah, you pre-cut it and had just 2 spots that you guys are going to hit.
And they said they were going to set it up and kind of play with it a little bit. So we're like, okay, before we go in there, I really want to see this trailer and see what you guys have done with it. Just make sure that when we kick this thing, we aren't going to look like absolute fools because it'll throw everything off. So they brought us in, and then we saw the whole stage and everything. And I tell you, it probably would have been best if we didn't go because that made me a hell of a lot more nervous.
So was Dawson razzing you a bit? Like, was he nervous too, or was he trying to make you more nervous?
I think I was more nervous than he was for sure.
I'd tease my brother. I would be making him like, I'd be trying to make you puke beforehand. I'd be trying to stress you out. It's our right.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you walk out, and I mean, again, I saw 10 minutes of this thing. You guys experienced an hour of it, but I mean, it seemed to go pretty quick. Like they were jumping in pretty quick. So At what point did you realize, like, or did you and Dawson, like, speak on both your behalfs? Like, when did you realize, oh shit, we're going to get 5 offers here. Like, they're in us. Like, they want us.
Here's what ended up. It did not show this in the show, but this is how it kind of went. So like,
this is what I want.
so we do our whole skit. We come back. We're giving all the points, basically like they showed on there is basically what we said. And then Wes Hall was really into it, like really into it. So he starts talking, and I didn't really hear what he was talking about. And he kind of took this pause. This is what happened in my mind. And he took this kind of long pause. So then I started saying something more. And it turned out he was actually trying to make an offer. And then Manjeet pops in and she's like, oh, you were doing really well until then. I'm like, oh, man, like, what did I do? Dawson's like, you cut him off, man. You cut him off. I'm like, okay. So he's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. But then he told us, he's like, this is, I can do this for your business. Like, this is what I think we can do. Here's my offer, right? And then he said that there's a clock. It showed that he said that there was a clock way later in the episode.
Oh, yeah, he said it at the end. Yeah.
No, he said it then. And we're sitting there. And it felt like 5 minutes of everybody being silent. Like we didn't even know what to do. And then I'm looking at Dawson. I'm like, okay, man, like maybe this is our only offer, right? And then all of a sudden, Arlene comes in. And here's what ended up happening too, is like after Wes said, this is what I can do for you. This is what I can do for you. I said, Wes, like, I really appreciate the fact that you said what you can do for us. Because at the end of the day, we weren't really in there for money is what I said to him.
Right.
And, so I think a lot of the other dragons really grabbed hold and knew that we weren't there for the money and we just wanted some help. So then each dragon started coming on, and it really didn't show this either, but like Arlene told her whole life story and why she thinks she can do this for us. And like each person, it felt like talked like for like 5 minutes about themselves and what they bring to the table. Right. So it kind of turned from us selling ourselves to them selling themselves on us. It was crazy.
Yeah, and that's amazing how much, like, again, as a big fan of Dragon's Den, I would kind of want to see that. But I guess if it becomes repetitive of every pitch that Arlene tells her story.
And that's what I was thinking after. I'm sitting there going, maybe this happens more often than we think. And that's kind of why they don't show it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All the producers and camera guys knew verbatim what they were going to say.
Yeah.
Because they say it to everyone. But so, I mean, you go in there and, I mean, you're asking for, you asked for 10% for 150,000. You got that offer. Wes offered per TV. I hope it all went in order. Wes offered the 15% for 150. Manjeet jumped in, did the same. Arlene jumps in and cuts them down to 12%. Yeah. And then Michelle jumps in at the 12%. And then you got Wes and Manjeet pull their offers back and go in together for 12.
Vince and Manjeet did.
Vince. Yeah, Vince and Manjeet. So you guys are sitting there with pretty much everyone at 12%, or 2 dragons at 15%.
Yeah.
I mean, so how much time elapsed where you and like how much time are you guys given to discuss? Because it looks like you have like 30 seconds to make a decision.
We actually went into the box. It doesn't show, it doesn't show it on the episode itself, but we were standing there with like deer in the headlights, and so we're standing there and everybody's looking at us and we didn't know what to do, and they knew we didn't know what to do. They're like, go to the box. We're like, are you sure? Right. Like, are you sure? They're like, go to the box. All 5 of them are like, go discuss it. So we're in the box going, holy shit, man. Like, what do we do? And yeah. And you know what? We went in there. Each one of them brought so many different things. Like, it didn't really show. It didn't really show, but Manjeet and Vince, what they're kind of pitching to us is they were like, listen, like, we see you guys as the face of the brand. Like, we work with the Nelk boys. Like, we're in the film industry, and like, they hadn't seen our videos before. So we were, I was kind of sitting there going, okay, this is kind of like a fame opportunity over on this side. Then we got Wes, who's really passionate about us. That's awesome. And like I was saying, I didn't think about this till after, but I'm like, man, this is his first season. Like, he'd probably love to get on a company and just work his ass off for it, for that replay later on, right? And then Arlene, the whole time I was nervous, she was sitting there going, it's okay, you're gonna be okay. She was just comforting us, and she told us
she was like the mom, right? She's like the vintage of the whole show. So yeah,
Totally. So she's, so they were all just awesome options. And you know what? My biggest regret is not going up there and saying, you know what? Would all 5 of you want to go in?
Yeah.
It would have made really good TV at the worst case too, right? So yeah.
Right. But I think as well, like I mean, I'm sure just from talking to you, I see you're humble. I'm sure your brother's the same way. But I mean, it wasn't about money and it wasn't about greed. You guys just thought you had a good idea. You probably didn't even know how good it was until you got 5 offers.
We know we're on to something, and I did feel like we were going to get some sort of offer, but I didn't think it was going to be all 5. That's for sure. That's
because not a lot of people get an all 5. Like, you don't get all the dragons fighting for you.
Not usually. Not usually.
It's crazy. So you come out of the box. You guys have made the decision that, you know, Michelle was kind of first in front, and then I'm sure the RVZ was a key factor because
100%. And she's the e-commerce guru, right? And like that's kind of where our next step really is. So,
well, especially because I mean, one of your hurdles, like I saw your one video where what was it, the canvas awnings. You guys are sitting on top of that. Like what people don't understand is you have to check all those. Catalog all those, do the part numbers, get them photographed, get them up online, and then figure out where the hell you're going to put them, which is the whole joke behind your video is you guys are pretty much playing hide and seek looking for each other and you end up sitting on top of them. Like, and that's just one part. That's one thing.
With the new is what we found out is with the new is very easy to stock and post, and it's and it's all already boxed. So like, for new online is easy peasy lemon squeezy. When it comes to the used, nothing's even been put on. Like, you got to start from scratch. Like, you can't even take a picture from somewhere else, a description from somewhere else. You've got to do this thing on your own, and nothing's boxed up. You got to find the right spots for it. The used is really the challenging part for the online market, but we've got it figured out. It's just going to take some time.
I'll tell you, I'm not like, and I'm not buttering you up. I'm not one to butter up, but I mean, you two, there's something about you that impresses me. And like I said, just from watching the videos, again, very impressive to get 5 offers, to lock a deal, to get on the show. I mean, it's got to give you guys a bit of boost of confidence coming from 2 young farts, right? Like working your way through, and you're standing in Toronto just getting astonished by these dragons. Like, it's got to feel good.
Man, it's been 3 years, and it feels like everything has been moving so fast. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, and that's another accomplishment, right? You've only been doing it 3 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so then when the episode's done, right? You guys, you have an offer, everything's proceeding, and depending on how much you can talk about, I mean, what we don't see is the due diligence and what happens after. So when you're done recording, I mean, they're still recording. I think they sit for like a month and they just record the whole season or whatever in one shot. But do you get a chance to talk to any of them or Michelle while you're in Toronto?
No, not while you're in Toronto, because you know what? Right after us, like when we went into the room to go on the show, there was also like 6, I think, other contestants there. I think they just do as many as they can in the day, and I think they do it for 2 weeks straight. And I don't think we were the last day, so we ended up just hitting the airport and heading home. There wasn't much done after that.
Yeah, no, and that's my curiosity, because I was aware that they record in mass, right? Because you can tell, I think they've given up on changing outfits. I think the season, it's the same outfit the whole way through, because they may not even put you with who you recorded with. No, like whoever was ahead and behind you may not be on.
100%.
Yeah. So then from there, I mean, have you guys done your due diligence with Michelle and everything locked and loaded, or are you still going through it? Where are we at?
We're still going through it. We did end up having one meeting with her. And then we're just still going through some other stuff. So we're gonna see and keep everybody posted on what ends up happening, but we just want to make sure and see what's going on.
Oh, no, and I figured it was still going because, again, it's a long process. She's probably, I mean, counting your hairs on your head and everything. Like, it's got to be, I couldn't imagine going through that. But you've had a meeting with her. She's hopeful. Everything seems good and looks like you're going to close, or what can you say?
We're going to see. We're going to see what happens here.
Yeah, because, again, as a longtime fan, not all of it, like actually a high number of the Dragon's Den don't close.
Yeah.
Because of maybe she's asking for a blue hat and all you guys is white. I mean, that could end a deal.
Yeah.
Right. So that's pretty cool.
We just want to make sure we got a partner who actually really, really cares and wants to help us out with things. So we're just going to make sure that's the case on this one.
No. And she's based out west, isn't she?
I think she's from Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think she's Midwest. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we see, what is it? Vince is in Montreal. Arlene, most
Arlene
of them are
and
West.
Manjeet, I think, are Calgary, which is
yes.
Cool too.
Did that weigh into any of your decisions, or was it like where they were, or did you just figure any power behind you was going to be an asset?
They all brought such, like, I went through pretty much the same things before. They all brought, I wouldn't say where they came from necessarily did, but thinking back on it, Manjeet's a camper and from Calgary. I really like that too, but
yeah, they showed it at the end. They showed that, like Michelle said, she made so much money on RVs, but yet she doesn't have one.
Exactly. Manjeet could have been a good one. I think all of them brought just different things to the table that I think would have been amazing no matter what.
See, I thought from the research I did ahead of time, I thought one of the front runners. I knew Michelle had RVZ, so I was like, okay, that's a no-brainer if it's the only offer. But if you went into multiple offers, I actually thought Manjeet was going to be the one because of warehousing. Because if anyone researches your your story, what they did air, and then what you're seeing online, even your drone video, your 1 minute pitch to the Dragons that you shared, space is a big issue for these RVs. Like, Manjeet is the queen of warehouses.
Totally. So here's the thing. There's warehouse distribution that would work really well with new stock. When it comes to this used, it'd be really tough to take it to other places. You know what I mean? Like, you definitely could, but basically how the system works is RV comes in, it gets tested, stripped, and then put away. So like, it's kind of one added step to a warehouse fulfillment center than new would be. You know what I mean? And we recently had it's a 15,000 square foot building. So we had 5,000 square feet of it, which was a haunted house, and it had 25-foot high ceilings, but we ran out of room. So we tore the haunted house down, and we've got pallet racking everywhere. It looks like Costco in there. So we're really excited to start filling that up and actually having SKU numbers on things. So that's going to be really nice.
Well, plus, I mean, like you say, like a lot of warehousing and stuff. I mean, you get a forklift going, and if you can go high, right, you can just start loading those pallets, and I'm sure the fridges and all that stuff take up the most space. So
exactly.
So that's good. So where do you guys go now? Like, as far, I mean, due diligence or not, deal or not, what's the game plan? Gear up, like I guess what you're saying is gearing up the winter, getting ready for that camping season that we know out west loves. But I mean, all of Ontario and Nova Scotia, all these places.
And Ontario honestly probably brings us more online business than anywhere else. But they've got the most campers per capita, or whatever you want to say there. So definitely Ontario and Alberta. But you know what? Our next steps, man, are this winter, if we can get, I know we will, just get every single piece of this store online. And now we've come up with a good system where every trailer that gets stripped, it now already has a spot for something, which is awesome. And it's just going to move things really fast. The other big thing is creating a website into the States, because the States is another huge market that I think we'll be able to tackle. The only thing is, like, as of right now, because we're a Canada site, we have everything tailored to Canadians. So like free shipping over 200 for products we know are this much, but when we start shipping to the States, everything's going to change. So we basically need to make another site for the States where we can adjust the prices based on what we know shipping will be. So we can also offer them free shipping over 200 and make it kind of the same site, but tailored to USA. You know what I mean?
So what are you doing for like acquiring RVs? Are you relying on Alberta, or like let's say I want to sell my RV because it's toast, and you guys are kind of who I want to support, or maybe it's the best offer. What could you say to, like, how are you dealing with that? How are you getting Ontario's RVs?
We aren't. As of right now, the only way that we end up getting an Ontario RV is, say it was in an accident here and we end up buying it from an auction. You know what I mean? So we're buying, most of ours are actually coming from customers. And as of right now, we've got enough supply coming from Alberta. I think there's going to be a point in time, if we're selling so much that Alberta can't supply us anymore, then it's actually worth spending a little more and just having somebody go pick up a trailer and pay the towing bill. You know what I mean? If we end up having to start paying $3,000 a trailer, at the end of the day, it's still worth it if we have the demand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, either that or you're going to end up setting up a Young Farts in Ontario and getting some guys stripping and cataloging your system down here, right? Because, I mean, freight costs to move an RV that you've bought for $1,000, it's going to be way more to just ship it.
It's not only that, it's shipping on freaking products, man. Like, as soon as you cross the Manitoba border, it's double if not triple. We can send a package to Florida cheaper than we can send one to Ontario. So I mean,
well, that's experiencing the drive. It's getting around those damn lakes.
100%, right? So that's the big challenge. So if we had a place over there that had a lot of these same parts, it'd be awesome, because then we could save a lot of money on shipping, faster shipping, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, because in the little town that I live in, I'll tell you, man, it's got to be 1 in 3 have an RV or a trailer in the driveway. Like Ontario, it's nuts. Like I've been camping for 40 years. We go, I don't know, 6 times a year.
Yeah.
And we just got shit tons of provincial parks and it's just what we do down here. And I know Alberta, you guys all have plots in the mountains and you all just kind of go up to the trailer for the weekend and come back. But I was really curious on supply is with Ontario being so heavy RV, are you guys thinking ahead to how to get these RVs? Because I really think if this explodes the way I expect it to for you guys, which I hope it does, I think you guys are rock stars. I've said it before. I think you're going to have inventory, like whether you check out BC first, but Ontario's like, there's shit tons of crappy RVs just hanging at hunting camps here.
Man, there are so many crappy RVs everywhere. Like, I don't think it would be sweet to have a place in Ontario, and we're definitely thinking about that later on. But as of now, like the supply is still really good. And you know what? Here's the biggest problem. See,
right,
you're supposed to reseal your roof every year. Okay.
Yep.
Nobody does.
Nope. They don't even tell you to when you buy it.
Yeah, and they give you 1 year warranty with these 20-year finance trailers. It's absolutely insane. So
yeah,
nobody seals their roof. They didn't know they had to. When people come into the store, they're like, "Oh, I should probably seal my roof." I'm like, "How long has it been?" They're like, "Well, about 8 years." I'm like, "Okay, well this is why we get our trailers so cheap." And you know what? It seems like everybody's making these same mistakes. I feel like people should probably be educating more RVers on this one, to be honest. And then a lot of people, as soon as they see water damage, they think it's toast. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So that's usually, we're getting more of those than I would say damaged wrecks or anything else.
So do you see that as one of those things that, and again, not talking negatively about the RV market, but because there hasn't been a dominant force in used parts or really any smart repair, these guys have been just telling you every 2 years because your roof is rotten, you should buy a new RV.
Well, and here's the other thing we figured out. So I don't know about Ontario, but there's no even like just new RV part stores. Like when you go buy an RV part, you're also at a RV dealer.
100%.
So that's where everybody is. So these guys are charging huge markups. And I think 1, because they're making money off the parts. 2, when these people go in and find out how much it's going to be to repair it, it's a much sweeter talk into telling you.
Move them to a sales center.
Trailer. And that's kind of where I think everything went awry in the RV parts market, that everybody thought it was all taken care of, but it really wasn't, because everyone's the dealers and they're trying to sell these new units. You know what I mean?
And that would explain, like in Ontario, they don't have a lot of parts in stock, but they have enough to scare you. They have enough to scare you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hey, man, like I say, I mean, I knew just before talking to you that you guys were, pretty smart. I'm going to give you hats off. You're really impressing me.
Thanks, man.
And you know your shit, and you're talking clear, and you're talking honest, and that's the way I am. I love it. But, I mean, to find out these little niches of people that, I mean, industry disruptors are industry disruptors because they find out things that we all knew. They just didn't have the balls to jump in and change. I find you guys are going to be that change. And, again, I mean, it's not like you don't want people to keep throwing their RVs away, because that's bad for business. You guys want the RVs that they forgot to seal.
Exactly.
But educating someone that you should be doing it, might give them another 3 or 4 years because they haven't done it in 8 years already. It's already screwed, but enjoy it 100%. For a couple more, then contact you guys and sell it.
100%. And you know what? There's the other thing is like, yeah, like there just isn't a lot of knowledge when it comes to this stuff. And like a lot of people, when they go and they've got, here's the other problem. So you've got a broken fridge, let's call it.
Yep.
You go to the dealer doesn't even want to discuss the possibility of fixing it with parts for that fridge. They just instantly say, you're going to need a whole new fridge. And you know what? A lot of people sit there and they're like, well, the parts people won't even help me out. Like the only way to actually figure it out is usually like Googling it if you can, and then try asking for these little parts. So you know what? Not many people are focusing on the parts of parts when it comes to new. They want to just sell the whole freaking unit. And what we're really focusing on is making sure everybody fixes their shit to save them a lot of money. You know what I mean? Because like most.
Well, and that's one of those things you see it in the car. You see it in the car industry. I'll talk cars with you a little bit.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had room to put your hand in a wrench in an engine to undo something. Nowadays,
plastic everywhere.
Now you can't get in. Do you find RVs like you guys stripping RVs? If you're looking at a 70s or 80s trailer to today's trailers, are you guys finding that they're building these things where it's almost impossible to service them?
No, I would actually say better. The only thing that they've ended up adding, which kind of is a pain in the ass, is that black underbelly.
Yes.
That's the only thing they've really added. But you know what? Back in the old days, everything was copper lines. Like you didn't have the PEX tubing that was just easily replaceable. You know what I mean? So it's definitely probably gotten better to fix.
Well, that's good to know. That's why I'm asking.
But I have seen these lightweight trailers, which are amazing selling points to people. They're able to drive it with what they have instead of upgrading.
Right.
Man, they're built like they're built like garbage. Like, man, I don't even know how they stay on the road so good, but like they've got the smallest walls. There barely any freaking supports on these things. Like
we looked at one with my son. He was looking at a really light RV one, like a towable behind a Kia Soul. So it had to be under 1,800 pounds. But I said the same thing. I'm like, if you guys get caught in like any wind over 10 kilometers an hour, I mean, it's going to blow right through this thing.
They do hold up. But like, I'm sitting there going like, they're built like absolute junk. And when you actually tear them apart and you're standing on that frame is barely anything. Like you can see it go like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
even the one he bought. I'm 6'4" and I'm about 350 pounds, man. I'm a big dude, and I got into it, and I was like, I'm gonna break your car just me standing in here. I'm like, it's amazing, but I don't know. Maybe they're putting a layer of crazy glue on the particle board just to hold it all together. I don't know.
That's what they do. They put they just glue that because they don't have as many studs as a regular trailer.
Right.
So you'll see these panels that they're just glued the whole way through on styrofoam. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but.
So that's awesome. One of the things that I was curious about, and we're recording, so I'm the one thinking of this for you, but have you thought of getting into the tiny home market and recycling those as you expand across? How much do you see them out your way? Like the mobile tiny homes, the ones that are kind of coming here in Ontario, but I think they've landed your way a little bit.
100%. So we have a huge market for selling to. We have so many people coming who are doing tiny homes, these school bus conversions, and
that's just started. Yeah, we're just starting to see that down here.
Oh, we've had it for a couple of years here now, so we've got a lot of those guys, and then we also have a lot of like utility trailer conversions because a lot of people want to use them for skidoo and hunting, but then also have a camper with their utility trailer. So we're seeing a lot of that now. That's not something you couldn't go buy a tiny home and make any money from stripping it. They when people make these tiny homes, they're selling for like 45 grand. You know what I mean?
Wow.
They're so expensive. I don't know. But you know what? The one thing I guess I'll just add this in. It kind of doesn't have anything to do with it. But the one thing when we opened is we didn't realize how big of a market it was for people living in RVs. Like our first year, second year, I'd say 40% of all our customers were genuinely living in them. And you know what? These people, when they go to the dealer because their furnace crapped out, which is essential, and they're here, it's going to be $1,600 for a new freaking furnace. Like they were living in an RV as it was. You know what I mean?
And how long probably too, right? Like how long to get it fixed. Yeah,
exactly. And like these guys, and then we got, especially in Alberta, I don't know about Ontario, but a lot of LOA. Like a lot of people who are going and working up in camp, and they'll just collect their LOA and then stay in their campers, right? So that's another big market that it seemed to hit.
Yeah, we have a lot of those in northern Ontario, like the outer regions, like when you get into the mines and stuff.
Yeah.
Probably not as dense as you guys, but then southern Ontario, I mean, that would all be, just diehard campers.
Campers,
like
with the lakes.
Like mine, I've got electrical ran out back just to keep the mice detectors away.
Yeah.
Keep them running all winter, but I've got it tarped, wrapped, and it's sitting with antifreeze, and I won't see it again till probably mid-April.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, that's 90% of us down here, but the upper section would be, like you said, the LOA type things. So that's cool, man. So you and your brother, this is full-time gig. This is what you guys do.
Oh, it's more than full-time.
Yeah. When I saw your message running a little late, I was like, oh, I just imagine the shitstorm that happened after the episode aired and family and everything else.
It's been such a nice just to see everybody. I wish I could reply to everybody, but it's been kind of hard to get to everybody.
No, and I'm sure it is. So how many staff do you guys have, though? Like, this is the type of stuff they don't cover in the episode. Like, is it just you two? Is it family? Is it staff? What is it?
So it's us two. Our parents joined us in, I think, 2020. So I've got my dad, my mother, and then we also got 2 employees here. One's a stripper, one's doing our posting and everything. And then I think we're hiring about 4. Well, we need a bookkeeper, we found out. It's a lot more.
Yes.
If anybody's listening, it's a lot more important than we thought it was. And then
yeah, you can't just use the ATM until it's dry.
No. And then and then we're also getting 2 phone people, because here's the thing, this has been our biggest challenge, is me and Dawson were the front of the store and we were the phones. So we were having hundreds of people coming in a day. We were having thousands of phone calls a day. We would work with the people during the day who were coming in, and then we'd be up till 11, 12 at night getting back to everybody over text. So, you know what, it's done us really well just working that hard. But I think it's time that we get some actual staff for it. And you know what, I'm a bit of a micromanager. Like I have a hard time.
So am
I have a hard time letting things go because I just feel like I could do it better sometimes. But you know what, after hiring the 2 employees that have been amazing, our first employee was awful, and I think that's kind of what twisted it around. But once we hired these 2, it has taken such a load off me, and it's actually happening right. Everything's going well. So I'm sitting there going, okay, we should get more staff so that things are not so crazy for us.
Well, and I'll tell you, man, I'm 7 businesses deep now. I'm 45, so I'm an old fart. I'm not a young fart. I'm not a young fart anymore. And I've said it already. You're really impressive, but I'll tell you, books are the key. I mean, it is, and trust me, I'm the micromanager. I'm OCD. I want my hands in everything. You know, it says my name on the company, and you want to be that guy that's the face. You want to chat,
100%.
You know, but to let go a little bit. If you start feeling it, that's the best advice I can give you. Is, you know, you could burn out. You could be gone by 40 just on stress alone. You could be gone at 50 for heart attacks and all over a business that won't be there anymore when you're done. So learning what facets you can let go, but never losing the micromanage mentality is really key. And I think it's cool that you've got your parents, your brother, because the nice part of working with family that I found is you can tell each other to fuck off.
Yeah.
But you can still sit down and have dinner.
100%.
Right? Like it's really key. You can't tell a stranger to fuck off because they won't show up for work the next day.
Yeah.
So building that family brand, which again, I see it in you guys and the joking around that you have with your brother, especially your younger brother. I'll give you credit for that because mine's annoying. I mean, I'm sure there's days you want to kill each other.
It's honestly more rare than I thought it was going to be.
Really? Because I was like, I want to see that blooper reel of you chasing him around with like an axle through the warehouse, you know.
Man, we're best friends. It's such a rare sight when we do fight. Like we're very fortunate that our family operates as well together. Like I hear a lot of things of some families falling out and whatnot, but it just seems like that's never going to happen. Knock on wood.
Well,
but,
well, yeah, and that's it. So that was my little bit of serious advice to you was, the bookkeeper is a big thing, and I'm sure Michelle will echo that as through due diligence that the bookkeeping is key. Because, I mean, one of the things, like even my wife, when she has a hair salon, so through COVID has been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
But I've taken the time to educate her on knowing those numbers and those acquisitions and your cost. Like you jumping on the episode right away, again, saying $1,000 RV with a $1,400 fridge, like it's an ATM at that point. You're selling like hotcake, all positive cash flow from there. Like it was spot on. So I'm glad you're being honest, saying that the bookkeeping is kind of the low spot, because in the episode you guys looked like you knew your numbers.
Well, here's what happened, man. So I don't know math, I don't know nothing, and it didn't show, but like I knew a lot of the numbers. And when we were going on there, like when I first started with this business, I had no idea how to use an Excel spreadsheet. I'm the computer. Right. I'm now the IT guy handling the whole website, doing these Excel spreadsheets, figuring out these numbers, and it's just I don't know how. But when we went on there, it was actually in June, so our season hadn't really started.
Right.
So we came in with $1 million revenue at the time from the previous year, and I said to them, "We're forecasting 1.8 for basically this summer coming up that hadn't happened yet, right?" I got it on the, I got the forecast. So I'm sitting there going, okay, like my numbers were making sense, but we just need somebody to like hold up the back end. You know what I mean? Like just keep.
Well, especially like I say, you've got to be anticipating a shitstorm coming. Like once that RV season, like I didn't know who you guys were beforehand.
Okay, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't. And now that you're on there, I mean, especially in Ontario, you're going to have all these RV people now just zone it in on you or Amazon apparently. But goddamn Amazon. No, but they're going to be honing in on you guys. And I mean, I guess, are you guys stressed a bit? Like, do you have to find out, do you hire now or do you wait for it to hit you, or what's the strategy there?
We're hiring in February there. I know for sure we need 3 more staff, and it's going to be interesting. Like the other thing that me and my brother have a lot of really good ideas for this business and how to bring it forward more. And what I did find out too was that us spending all the time with the customers and on the phones was amazing, because we're very experts with it and we love helping people out and giving people things for free advice, all this. But what we have found out is like we're wasting a lot of really valuable time on things that other people could be doing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so,
I 100% know what you mean. That's the hardest thing to learn.
Yeah, but you know what? We're sitting here going, because we were the forefront of it for the people, it's built us a really wonderful name where we are, just because we're us, I guess. But we've got to start delegating our time in different ways. You know what I mean?
So on a closing note, Jagger, because I know your time's precious and you guys have got to be busy. What recommendations do you guys give at this point to, the under 25 entrepreneurs that just want to make a living? Like you guys are living a Canadian dream at under 25.
Well, you know what, this is my main advice. We live in a world nowadays where you can sell anything to anyone from anywhere. A lot of people that are going into businesses that have probably worked for somebody else before think that they need the nice building downtown so that they get a lot of foot traffic. Like other than restaurants, man, these small towns, like we would have never been able to do this without having such a low overhead cost. And that's the big thing for us. And I'd say the other huge thing is that we don't really care about money. We don't really care how much we make. This is more of a dream. So I think if you go into a business wanting to pull as much as you can out of it for your personal life, I think you're going to have probably a bad time. Like we lived in trailers for 2 years just so that we could keep dumping money back into this thing. And especially if you're under 25, like you're at the moment, you can freaking risk everything. Who cares? You lose everything, whatever. You know what I mean? You still
I agree. You're like, it's awesome. Like for one breath for you to say you don't know math, that you guys struggled, that you're not the sharpest knife in the drawer, whatever. But you are a man. Don't sell yourself short. I'm super impressed. I mean,
thanks, man.
Like it's crazy. I really am. I love these humble, regular Joe victories. I think they're key. And you guys, hats off. I mean, say the same to Dawson for me. And you know, give your parents a big hug. They raised a pretty smart guy here, in my opinion.
And they're wonderful parents themselves. We're very lucky.
Well, we have to say that now. You've been on TV. You're on a podcast. You got to say it. No, I'm kidding.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
I'm waiting for your mom to come through in the background and just cuff you. No.
She's right outside this door, actually.
Yeah. Well, they did a stand-up job. I really appreciate you reaching out and doing the podcast. Likewise, I hope you share it. I hope you post it. We'll have it up and running probably in January.
Sounds good, man.
I'll reach out, and we're coming out west. I think we're coming out that way. I think it's the end of April, early May. I'm going to look you up, and I'm going to come out and check out the store.
Come on, I'll have some beers waiting for you, man.
Oh, now you're talking. I appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Man, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Pros Talk, an SME podcast, hosted by Dave Annable from Canada Approved Professionals, Inc. For more information, visit www.ontapproved.ca. The Pros Talk is an Ontario-approved professionals production. Special thanks to DCE Media Productions, dcemediaproductions.ca. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe on any of the available platforms.